So, like I said, I'm Dave Glass. I'm with Yahoo, and I'm going to be giving you guys a quick talk. This is my first actual Node Conf, so I'm happy to be here. And this is my first time actually presenting this group of tools. So my talk is actually going to be on what we've actually called Yahoo cocktails. How many of you guys have heard of Yahoo cocktails? All right, there's a few of them out there. All right, so this is actually a pretty fun talk to do because there's like lots of liquor in it. So I made sure there's plenty of pictures of liquor for everybody. This is the list of the tools that I'm going to be talking about, and they're all named after cocktails. If you happen to search for Windjammer, that's also a boat, so you need to search for like Windjammer drink to find anything about it. So the first thing I want to talk to you guys about is our Why Node.js. Now, we have a custom compiled version of Node that we use at Yahoo. It is not heavily modified, so I'm going to stress that. It is very tiny modified. We actually have one patch that we're trying to work with libuv to get in, and it basically we need to perform a graceful shutdown to the process. When I start showing you guys some of the numbers of what we're actually running, it's very important for us to be able to let all those requests finish before we actually shut the process down and load new code or actually upgrade the process itself. So we don't just Control C the damn thing. We can't. At our kind of traffic, we're talking thousands of requests per second. So what we actually have is a patch that turns off the TCP layer for accepting new connections, so that way the rest of the pool can still finish out and do what it's doing, and we're not going to accept anything new, so like the edge cache in front of it won't send any more requests. It'll round robin out to the other processes, but we can still let everybody get their data, finish their request, and then when it's done, we'll then gracefully kill the process, upgrade the package that it's running or whatever, and then launch it back up. We have one minor modification because there's a bug in one of our pieces of code that actually makes Node crash. So we have one line of code in Node that we had to comment out so that we can actually use one of our libraries. And it's not Node's fault at all. It's that I haven't bribed that team with enough whiskey to have them fix my bug. So I'm hoping that at this talk, they will see this video and they will nicely patch that piece of software for me. The final thing that we've actually added into it is we've implemented open base dir and file access dir. You guys know what that is? It's a PHP setting. Somebody in here has to know what that is. One person says they know what it is. So basically, we have the ability to scope a set of directories and tell the node process you're only allowed to require files from these specific directories. You can't require anything anywhere else in the system. We also have the ability to lock the file system and make the FS object not allow you to read certain directories in the file system. So when you're running in our code, you cannot open etc password with the FS module. It will not let you. It will throw an access denied. We have open sourced this module. It sits on GitHub under the Yahoo organization. And what we do is we actually put that in the Node.js file itself, and we set our configuration for our directories, and we compile that into our binary. So there is no way someone can do something that we don't want them to do on our production stack. So I needed to explain those little pieces because you guys need to know that we are really using Node raw. We're actually running 10.8 or 18. Yeah, we're actually running 10.18 today. We keep up to date. One of the things that I'm also working on with our team is to allow them to run off of master or the unstable branch and run our CI system along with our 400 plus modules so that I can ping Isaac and say, dude, you broke something. So for us, it's going to be helpful, but it'll also be helpful for the Node community because we have a lot of modules that we build internally. And I'll show that when I get into some of the next system. So along with our Why Node.js, we have this little tool called Cosmo, shortened from Cosmopolitan because nobody ever wanted to type Cosmopolitan out. I'm actually right now fixing this so that I can open source it. This is our wrapper whenever you start a service at Yahoo. One of the things that we've tried to do is So like, some of the other guys that have talked, they talk about how they separated all the enterprise out and they're like starting fresh. We went it a little different route. So what we did was we left all the enterprise stuff there, but we abstracted it out so the developers never have to see it. We still get to live in the infrastructure. We still get to use these 15 years worth of infrastructure that's been sitting there, but these developers don't ever have to see it, right? They don't ever have to know any of this stuff exists. We have, modules for like cookies, how we parse our cookies. We have modules for how we deal with headers, how we write log files. Because not only do we have this technology, but we also have C++, we have PHP, we have Java, so we still have to live in that same... Wow, that was weird. It's like they would... Yeah, okay, I did. I think I said Java when it happened, right? So we have to, we have to live in this ecosystem, and we have like these shared libraries that are run across everything. So we got this group that writes these low-level C++ modules, and they also are compiled into Java, they're compiled into PHP, they're compiled into every other language we use. So we were able to take those and compile them as Node. I had to do a lot of heavy bribing. I have spent a lot of money dropping lots of cases of whiskey and Red Bull and beer at different people's desks to change that one line so it's not blocking anymore, so that we could actually compile these modules. So what Cosmo does is, whenever we start up the service, it starts up around your actual application, and it preloads all of these modules on certain routes. So as you're developing, you're like, I need this functionality, this Yahoo custom functionality on this route, and this route I need these 4 modules. So we take care of that for you. We load it all in, we configure it, and it just works. So your app doesn't have to worry about that kind of logic. And that also gives the Node team control over what's actually loaded, and they're the ones that are maintaining these things instead of every developer at Yahoo having to maintain a one-off of all these modules, so they get to share it. It also supports vHosting, which is another big thing for us because we have dozens of colos all over the world, so there's no telling what machine you're actually running on. So, like I said, it's soon to be open sourced, and I'm going to be doing it. I just have to fix it. I'm not going to go into why I need to fix it because an enterprise engineers wrote it. So, the next one here is Windjammer. This is actually a picture of what a Windjammer would look like, and I tossed the recipe up there in case anybody was wondering how you make one of these cocktails. The recipe will be available on every single one of these slides, okay? So, Windjammer is kind of cool. Windjammer is npm plus yinst. Now, yinst is a term that not a lot of people have heard. Some people have heard it, but they don't really understand what it is. There is a couple of slides out there, or slideshows out there that actually talk about what yinst is, and I'm not going to explain all of it, but because Isaac actually did that for me. So yinst is this really cool tool inside of Yahoo that has been around for years, and it's basically how all of our servers talk to each other and how we package everything up. One of the most important things that yinst does is when it builds a package, it runs through the source tree of whatever you're packaging, and it actually grabs the commit SHA or the ID, depending on the system it's running on, and it manifests that and puts that inside of the tar file. So whenever you have this tar file, you can go back in time 5 years, you can unzip this file, and you can see exactly what commit that file came from. So it's our way of being able to go back and look at all this code years from now and find out exactly who put that in, when they put it in, and what was the contents of that file. So it's important for us to be able to use yinst internally. So what we did with Windjammer is actually a fake NPM registry. We have this distribution server that yinst actually pushes all these files to, that everything gets installed from across the Yahoo network. This thing is really smart, so it can fake an interface to like anything. So if you hit it with like the CPAN, it's going to respond as a CPAN server, but it's going to give you a yinst package back when it's done. If you hit the thing with Yum, it's going to act like a Yum server, and it's going to give it back to you just like Yum would expect, but it's going to give you one of our packages. So what we did was we built a registry on top of this thing that looks just like the NPM registry, only it serves from our distribution store. That way we're still compliant with everything else at Yahoo, but NPM still works, right? So that's kind of cool. It just works. One of the other things that probably a lot of you in here know me for annoying you is putting license files in your modules. I am very, very assertive about needing a license. We at Yahoo really like liberal open source license. We like MIT, we like BSD, we like Apache. Those are the licenses that we like, and that's what we share our code at. One of the limitations to using code in an enterprise software is that we have to make sure that that code is licensed. You must attach a license file or I can't use it. I can almost say the same thing for everybody else. They don't want to use these files if they don't have good licenses in them. Our registry has a whitelist, and you have to come and ask me if you can use a Node module at Yahoo, and I'm going to be like, yeah, I'll let you use that. It's licensed properly. I know the guy that made it. Sure, I'll add it to the whitelist. So when you do an npm install, it works. You try to install something else, it fails. So now I can, not only do I get to control the fact that I have good licensed software, but that also makes me a gatekeeper by like, you want to use this module? Dude, there's one right over here that does the exact same thing, only it's better. It's licensed well, we're already using it, we know who did it. I know Max wrote it, so I'm going to take it. I'm never going to say no. So it kind of gives us our control. The final thing that we have a problem with CouchDB is that all user authentication is by person. I can't guarantee who packaged up a package today will be at Yahoo tomorrow, or next week, or next year. So I cannot put a person's name on a package, but I can do groups, because that's how we run. We have groups, we have teams that publish packages together. We have teams that work on something and package together. So that team has the right to publish. So those are some of the little things that we did. We also host 2 replicas of the public NPM, because when NPM goes down, we can't push to production. So we had to fix that. We can't have that go down. You know, because I mean, sometimes it does. Not saying that it happens often, but it does. So we actually put up 2 couch servers. We have rotation on it, split across the globe on our global network, so that we can publish safely. So the other thing, how many of you guys know Luke? All right. I got word this morning on Twitter that he accepted the offer to come work at Yahoo, and he is going to be our maintainer of NPM internally and externally. He's going to help, we're going to pay him to help fix bugs in NPM, as well as work on our internal version of NPM, because, you know, we have a vested interest in it too. Come on. Yeah. Come on. That's better. You guys can't just sit there. I don't like that. So the next thing up here is Screwdriver. Screwdriver is actually pretty cool. Another one of those enterprise things. We run Jenkins. We have to run Jenkins. Everything at Yahoo runs Jenkins. So we have these miles of dashboards and reports that everybody has to see. So we have to live inside of Jenkins. We can't live without that. But we also love Travis, right? That's what Screwdriver pretty much is. It is Travis for Jenkins. It has a controlled environment. It fires up the CI system. It runs through an npm install. It runs through an npm test. The other things that we bundled into it, we actually bundled in the JS hint. If you have so many of a percentage of JS hint errors, it will fail. If you don't have a certain percentage of code coverage, it will fail. Any of you guys use Istanbul for your code coverage? Yeah, we wrote that. Did you guys know that? Come on. Istanbul is awesome. One of my quote somebody keeps quoting me is, if you thought JS hint hurt your feelings, wait till you use Istanbul, because it will tear you up. It's one of the only code coverage tools that I know of that actually does branch coverage. So if you have an if statement with 3 items in it, it will tell you if one of those were not hit. And it will ding you for it and tell you need to put more code coverage in here to fix that. So we run that, and that was actually built by the engineer that wrote Screwdriver. Have you guys ever heard of any of our hack days? I mean, we're pretty famous for having our hack days that engineers get 24 hours to build something really cool and then show it off. Istanbul was a product of a hack day. He wrote it in one night, and I saw it, and I'm like, I gotta have it. Just package the thing up, throw it up on NPM. People are gonna love this thing. So it's totally built into that tool as well. Right now, we have 200 plus apps, and 200 plus libraries building. So we're actually building Node modules internally that we're sharing with other teams. And I mean, 480 builds a day, 339,000 tests executed every day on this system. I like tests. So if any of you guys haven't seen any of my repositories, I love tests. I also love Travis. Just have to pimp those guys out while I'm standing here. No, we also deploy to Manhattan over 260 times per day. Now, Manhattan's actually a pretty cool product too. That's the next step along with our nice recipe. I got to give you time to see what's in it. So Manhattan is our serving infrastructure, and we have this this pipeline. Yeah, so it's container based. So similar to like what you'd see like Docker IO or whatever, but it's custom tailored to our containers at Yahoo. So we have like specific serving containers that host certain applications that have certain dependencies, and they're all inside of this container. Now Manhattan allows us to run through what we have is we call a product runway. Every time that you commit your source code, it's going to fire off and it's going to run through Screwdriver, and Screwdriver is going to test it and it's going to make sure it passes. Once it passes, it's going to deploy it to our internal version of NPM. And then Manhattan's going to pick it up and it's going to drop it in this development trunk. And you're going to get to see it. You're going to get to play around with it. You're going to get to look at it, verify that all your stuff works, and then you can physically promote it up to the next one. And you need to pass it off to test. And at that point, it goes to QA, and QA gets to run through it and tear it up and make sure that it's all good and they've done their stuff. Then they can kick it over to performance. And then we run through a series of performance metrics to make sure that you haven't downgraded your quality of service since the last time that you published this thing, because we monitor the metrics of how long it takes to run the test, what happens with memory, what is happening with that process during that time. Then we promote it again for one more pass with QA. These are all on separate instances in separate colos, so it actually physically changes machines and goes to different people, and only certain people have the right to say, yes, you can promote this up. So at any given time, QA can stop you and say, dude, you cannot push this to production because it does not work. It is broken. So finally, it pushes off to production. All of that is handled automatically and is used with this tool called Grasshopper. Excuse me. Grasshopper is a command line tool, and it's the thing that actually tells you what to do. There's not a whole lot more I can describe with Grasshopper, because it's basically the nice little command line tool that lets you look at logs, and it lets you restart services, it lets you publish a new package, it lets you down deploy, so you can actually roll back your last package. So if you put it out into production and then realized, oh shit, everybody missed something, I can just roll it back instantly, and then production gets updated and it goes back to the last package. So, Grasshopper is pretty cool, and Manhattan's pretty cool. All right, so I only got 1 minute. So Mojito, I'll have to save that one for later, but we're actually rewriting it, and we're rewriting it really cool. It's going to be a bunch of middleware and small little tiny modules the way it should have been. And we're already starting on that, so there's a whole bunch of stuff up on github.com. How we develop, just like you do. That's the equivalent. So everything that we do inside of Yahoo is almost exactly the same as what you pick up outside of Yahoo. So we do our development just like you do your development. And then the last thing is numbers. We're pushing between 18,000 and 25,000 requests per second across the VAR network. Oh, come on, you gotta give that something. I mean, shit. One more thing. How many of you guys use fantasy soccer here in the UK? Anybody? Oh, come on. Somebody in here's got to be a soccer fan and they play fantasy soccer. Football. Okay, sorry. Football. Got that one wrong. All right, so actually if you go there, open the developer tools, and look at the headers, that's what you're going to see. See ya.